Hello, hello everyone. How are you going? I am so excited to be here today. I'm just wondering and hoping that everyone can see me. Let me know, hop on as you say hello. I'm just going to rearrange myself here so that I can see. We're doing this live today on Facebook as well as on Instagram. So let's just get this party started. Hello, hello, as you're hopping on. Beautiful. Hi, Robin. So good to have you here. Just going to quickly open this up. Let's see. Beautiful. Okay. So just make sure that I am pinned. Hi, Milsey. Okay, so you're just renaming yourself. That is beautiful. I am just going to make sure that everyone is tagged in this particular video. Just for those who wanted to watch on Facebook and not in live. How's your day going? Let me know. Pop it in the comments. Milsey, so good to have you here today, live on Zoom itself. Okay, so let me just maybe refresh this screen and see what's happening here. You're welcome, my love. Awesome. Alrighty, so let's actually let's stop the share of, why don't we stop the share here for a moment? Okay, and we'll put this on speaker view. Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Coombe-Heath. I am a mind body eating coach, and I'm so excited to have you all here today. So whether you are watching this live or whether you are watching this on Zoom or on Facebook, I'd love for you to just pop a hello in the comments so that I know you're here. Pop and let me know where you are watching this from. I am super excited to share this beautiful, amazing talk with you today, which is the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Masterclass. This is something that I am excited about presenting because I know that you might be here because you're struggling with your relationship with food. You might feel like you're just stuck in these yo-yo diets, or you just feel like you're absolutely just ready to move on. And that is what we will be talking about today, is how to actually start rewiring our thinking, our thoughts, our beliefs around food so that you can find food freedom, as I like to call it. So beautiful. I would love for you also to just pop in the comments, what was the last thing you ate today? I like to add a little bit of humor into this. I'm just trying to think what was the last thing I ate. I ate some cheese as a little snack. And then before that, I had a little bit of peanut butter on a cracker because just before that, I actually did an Instagram reel where I stuck a whole spoon of peanut butter in my mouth. And so I couldn't put that back in the jar. So that's what I had. So I'd like to just keep this really, really relaxed, and brown rice with sesame seeds and seasoning. That sounds so delicious. Wow. Okay. Amazing. Thanks for sharing. Okay. So this video will be recorded and it will be live streamed on Facebook. You might just have to accept the prompts here if you need. Yes, the peanut butter was delicious. I am very much a crunchy peanut butter person. Who here likes crunchy peanut butter? Or give me a peanut emoji if you're a crunchy person, or maybe I can't remember the other emojis that would go with peanut butter. I don't know, find me a different emoji. Oh, there we go, peanuts. Awesome. All right, so a few people will probably hop on later. There's also a lot of you who've asked me to record this, so that is why we're doing this today, with many technologies helping us and assisting us along the way. All right, beautiful. All right, so as I mentioned before, my name is Coombe-Heath. I am a mind-body eating coach, and I specialize in emotional eating, body image, and also spirituality as well. That's something that I'm really passionate about. My spiritual journey really supported me throughout my healing journey. However, we won't be touching on that today. We're really talking today about the cognitive side of things, the brain, which is really, really exciting. So thank you for taking your time for being out here today. I've been binge free now for over 3 years, and I've helped over 150 women heal their relationship with food, facilitate over 500 coaching hours in 2 years, and I'm excited to share this topic with you today. So give me a hell yeah if you are ready to get started with our topic and what we will be working on today. All right, so usually I ask everyone to kind of switch off their mobile phones and give this your all, but just before we get started, please can you make sure that you have your phone out. And what we'll do is, if you are on Instagram, we are going to just share the screen just while watching this training. So let me just pop myself over there. All right, so just make sure that you look out for my profile. So yet, maybe send me a message, but also take a photo of this worksheet and maybe a selfie of yourself, and let's pop it, rewire our overeating brains. Such a great journey when we actually get to share with others. Just give you a moment to still do that. Oh, okay. All right, so let's do a quick check-in, some basic house rules just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So just make sure that your phone is now switched off once you've tagged yourself, once you followed me on Instagram, so that you can kind of just immerse yourself in the content we will be sharing today. It's, you know, you spending and investing your time here. So I'd really I'd really love for you to just give this your all. Take notes if you need, bring pen and paper, because obviously that's how we really learn, right? Is through the process of being fully present with what's happening. Okay, yeah, all right. No worries, that's what I mentioned. If you don't want to log on to Instagram, that's also more than okay. You're welcome to just send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram. And such a beautiful day for us to get together. Okay, so let's talk about what we'll learn today. So today we will talk about the tools and strategies to stop overeating. And that is something that I'm really passionate about sharing, because that is something I struggled with for over 13 years. So the first step we will go through is we'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and why your brain thinks food is the answer, okay? We'll then heal your emotional wounds and freeing your mind and food of body thoughts, which is great because we know that a lot of times our overeating has to do with emotions, and it's not to say that that's a bad thing. I always say that our overeating or our emotional eating is there for a reason, and when we actually give it the attention that it needs, we can actually make sure that we address the issues that's really causing us to lean towards food instead of eating and overeating. All right, and then we will also learn habits that will last, right? And these 3 pillars, these are the basis of what I teach in the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Mastermind, which is such a beautiful program. I've had so many ladies through here, and it's really just been such an amazing space for us to come together as a sisterhood, learn about the the ways we are with food and how we can heal. And this is so fantastic when we have, let me just have a look if there's anyone else in the weight room. When we actually have a support group around us, that can just actually be so super helpful. All right, so let me just double check and make sure this is at full size here. Oh, let me just see what happens. There we go. And I just want to make that a little bit bigger. I was like trying to just make sure that we can see everyone, whether you're here online with us or whether you are on the Facebook group. All right, so let's get back to it. So you will also learn how and more about the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Mastermind. And you can also, I will also share with you how you could actually win a bonus VIP upgrade to this program with over $1,000. So I'm super excited to get started. All right, so I'd like for you to just imagine for a moment. Imagine what life would be like if you had it easy with food. If your relationship with food and body looked more like eating when you're hungry and losing interest when you are full. You're free from the diet merry-go-round once and for all, and you actually enjoy social events without food anxiety. Maybe you are able to incorporate all foods in a healthy way of eating without worrying about overeating or binge eating. And can you imagine what life will be like when you no longer feel the urge to binge? If you're not sure what the urge to binge is all about, I will share more about that as we go along. The urge has got so much to do with the wiring of our brain. So we will go into detail on that. So, and just imagine feeling more radiant and confident, knowing you are far more than your body. Such a good one. Okay, so share with me in the comments what that would be like for you, right? All right, we've got some comments here in the chat. I could be more present in life. I could possibly deal with stuff without my brain telling me to go to the pantry. Life could possibly be more fun. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing I've learned is that life is a lot more fun when we clear out some of that mental clutter that causes our, overeating thoughts and overeating brain. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that we're on the right page. Okay. So, and I just wanted to let you know that I get it. I struggled for a good 13 years in a serious love-hate relationship with food. But for over 30 years, I was in this battle with my body. And so all this time combined, I really felt so shameful about my food behaviors. I couldn't get control over myself. And, once I actually understood the different ways in making a difference and ways to actually rewire my overeating brain, things just changed for me. I was the shyest person on earth. You would never have seen me on any form of video, right? And here I am talking to you today. I have a podcast that has over 50,000 different listeners at a time. We've got a talk on Insight Timer with over, sometimes there's like 300 to 400 people in a group that come together, and you would never say that that was me. And that's just the kind of the amazing thing about creating that freedom in the brain is I was able to step out of my comfort zone and speak up about something that I'm really passionate about, and that is health. Like we had in the comments here, life can definitely be a lot more fun. And I'm not saying that you need to get on video. I'm not saying that that's possible for you, but I will share some stories about some of my clients who's gone through the Rewire Your Overeating Brain program with me, and how they actually, the things that happen for them is just out of this world. Life did become more fun for them. So many possibilities open for them. So I'm super excited because I get to share some of the stuff with you today. And if you would like to take this deeper, we can talk about how to do that as well. Okay. So I remember that the most difficult time in my life was about 3.5 years ago, when I really, really struggled. My binge eating was to the point where it was happening not once a day, it was happening twice a day, it was happening every day. And the next day I promised myself it wouldn't happen again, and I would be extremely strict with myself. I would, follow all the rules. I would go and exercise, and then, late afternoon, by the evening, back to square one. And this carried on day in and day out for probably a good year. So 13 years of binge, restrict, yo-yo dieting, all those kind of things. And what happened for me is my life just intensified. The longer I was in the cycle, the more I struggled. And so 3.5 years ago is when I actually turned up to someone's talk about how to heal your relationship with food. And I think she actually talked about how to stop self-sabotage. And it's through that process where I realized that it had nothing to do with food. It had nothing to do with my body. There was deeper wiring and things that needed to happen in order for me to heal and have a really nice, calm relationship with food. So, unfortunately, we live in this world where society tells us what we need to look like to be acceptable. We need to judge ourselves and others for being a specific body size or type or number on the scale. So I know that this is a difficult place for us to be. Not only do we have our own internal battles, we also have the battles with ourselves and the external world, really. And you might be wondering, well, is there actually hope? Is there a way for me to get out of this? And, I wanted to share with you my great story about my friend and client who I met. Actually, she found me on LinkedIn. And I say friend because most of my clients, by the end of our working together, we are like friends. We share so much together. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful journey. So today we are here to rewire our overeating brain habits. Like Corinne, who rewired a 15-year lunchtime binge habit, right? So she struggled for over 15 years. Every day she would say, today I'm going to be good. And then she would find herself in the car, back from the shops. She bought all her binge foods and she was eating it on her way home. All right. And through our work together, she was able to rewire that behavior, right? So I just want to check the comments here. All right, another comment here. I'll probably be healthier because I could absorb the goodies from food. Feels like my gut doesn't absorb nutrients. Yeah, absolutely. When we are binge eating, unfortunately, the food is not in the right consistency for us to actually absorb any nutrients. So it is kind of a thing for us, and that's something I help my clients with as well, to just get to a space where they are actually eating better and absorbing nutrients that they need. And that, brings so many benefits. They sleep better, they have more energy, they just they have the confidence in themselves, which is great. So Corinne and I, we worked together, and what happened with her is she realized that her afternoon binges was almost like an emotional comfort blanket for her. And as a teenager, she turned to food in the afternoons because she didn't appreciate it, or she didn't feel appreciated, sorry. And she felt like food was her only friend. And she didn't really realize that those feelings stuck with her into adulthood. And it's only through us understanding and unlayering the onion was where we were actually able to rewire those thinkings and heal those wounds. And through that, she was able to start a beautiful new relationship with food. And she's just doing so well. The last time I spoke to her, she's adopted a little beautiful pet rabbit, and life is just going extremely well for her. So just pop in the comments here for me, who here feels they just need to be more in control with food? I'm just gonna have a look and pop over into the Facebook group and just double check if we've had any comments here as well. I think my Facebook page might be frozen. Alrighty, let me just double check. All right, okay. Beautiful. All right, so even if you're watching this in the replay, let me know. Do you feel like you need more control with food? Such a big question. All right, let's get going. The answer is you don't have a problem with food. And I know that's probably a big one for you to kind of sit with. Overeating is not a food problem. If it was, then everyone would have overeating issues. But unfortunately, that's not the case, right? There's so many people. Who here knows someone or, or a bunch of people who are normal with food, who can carry on, eat a slice of pizza, and then move on with their day, enjoy a piece of cake, and then never think about it again? Yeah. So if our overeating issues was a food problem, then we would have hundreds and thousands of people on this call right now. Okay. And I'm not saying that this is your fault. All right. It's just what's happened with some of us is we've created a strong food-centered habit pathway in our brains. Okay, Milsey says her boyfriend drives her crazy because he eats. She wants to keep eating, and he eats a tiny amount, and then he feels satisfied. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so somewhere along the line, we have formed a food-centered habit pathway, which is really, really easy to do. And this is not to say that this is just the only pathway. A lot of people form pathways with other things, whether it's alcohol, social media scrolls, Netflix marathons. All those things can form habit pathways in your brain, right? It's not just food. Unfortunately, in my community, we are all here because we are here because of food struggles. Okay. So the great news about this is because your overeating problem is a habit pathway of your brain, we can change that. So that is the hope. I have done it. Karine, that you've seen on the previous slide, has done it. Hannah has done it. 150 other of my clients have done it all. A lot of people can do this. So the first belief I would like for you to kind of rewire out of your brain is that this is not possible for you. All right. I would love for you to know that you have all the amazing resources and the tools within you, and you have me in your corner. So just if you do nothing else today, just lean on that belief and erase it out of your mind. Okay. Yep. All right. So yeah, beautiful, Millie. You've done something here, which is what a lot of people do actually. So when we talk about habits being ignored, changed, or replaced, it doesn't mean that we swap it for healthy alternatives. So Millie was just saying that she swapped chocolates for apples and sweets with gum, and the ignoring part she's struggling with. And yes, we can swap healthy alternatives for foods, but if we don't understand why the food is there in the first place, we all have a specific binge food that we go for, and I'll speak about that a bit later as well. But and that particular food is there because we formed neural pathways around that being a support system for us, right? So you can replace all the chocolates in the world. If you're having a bad day and you have all these emotional things, unfortunately, the willpower of swapping those, that's going to fall out the window, all right? So we need to come up with new tools, new ways of doing it. And in the Rewire Your Overeating Brain program, I actually teach my clients how to ignore the habits, but also not 100% ignore. We actually work with it. We bring in curiosity. Oh, why are you here? Why do you want me to eat that chocolate today? Let me understand you, because I'm guessing there's something that I need to solve or soothe in this moment. All right. So how does the overeating brain work? Now, absolutely everything we do is out of habit, right? So you wake up in the morning and you do things a certain way. Maybe you stretch, maybe you yawn, maybe you, whatever the case is, somewhere along the line, you make your bed, you brush your teeth, you put on clothes or shower, whatever the case is. Everyone has their own habit pattern around waking up in the morning. Even as I'm moving my hands, this is as a result of habit patterns formed in my brain. When we were babies, we took forever to move our hands, and we'd sit there with wonder, understanding what's going on. And as we were doing this, our brains were computing little pathways in our brains on how to move your hand. So even your hand movement is a neuro pathway, right? It's part of the wiring in our brains. Okay, so everything we do is out of habit, and our eating behaviors, they're not different. But science has shown that eating behavior is closely associated with activities in the brain that relate to your reward centers, right? That's why often when we see food, when we actually eat something delicious, we feel relief, we feel amazing, we feel excitement. There's just so much happening for us. And that's because we already, just by seeing specific food, we trigger a pathway in the brain, a reward pathway. And once we actually know this, this is when we can start working with it. All right. So and earlier I mentioned that, we've formed a food-centered pathway or habit pathway in our brains. So this little picture, if you look on it's my left side, the less colorful one, we're going to say that is the pathways you already have in your brain with regards to food. At the moment, there's a lot of wiring around it, a lot of beliefs, thoughts, emotions that would trigger certain eating around it. And don't worry, we'll go into more detail about this in a moment. All right. So what I wanted to kind of point out here is we just need to create a new pathway. So do you see the colorful side of the brain with all the beautiful, pretty colors? We just need to create a new pathway in our overeating brain. That will help us to release those habits and weaken those pathways. Okay, so I am just going to pause for a moment and see if there's any questions, because I know this is quite something that might be new for others. I talk about this a lot, so I just want to make sure that I don't skip over any vital questions. So I'm going to just pop back into the Facebook group. I'm just going to refresh this too, make sure that I can see everyone. Okay, no questions as yet. Everyone is watching the replay today. Amazing. Alrighty, so go back to sharing the screen. Okay, all right. It also might actually be that my laptop is a bit frozen. So just give me a moment. I just want to go and check in Facebook that I'm not missing anything in the live feed there. Beautiful. Hopefully I can put this on silent. There we go. Right, I'll just put this here in case anyone has questions. Power of technology. Okay, I can actually pop it over here. That will be helpful. Alrighty. Let's see, chat. Okay, beautiful. Don't worry, I've got the chat going over here, so I will keep an eye out for that. Thanks for checking. Awesome. All right, so I think who here would be who here is excited about learning how to rewire your overeating brain? Let's start with that. Yes, okay, beautiful. Okay, so our food issues, as I mentioned before, is a lot deeper than self-control. We often think we just need more self-control, more willpower, and everything will be okay. However, the thing that really causes our overeating problems is what I call an urge. And the urge sits deep here in your unconscious brain. This is where, and many things can actually create and cause the urge. But what I wanted to kind of just illustrate here is willpower and diets and exercise and obsessing over the scale is something that sits here at the top of the surface. Okay, so if we want to rewire our overeating habits, we need to go deeper. And we need to start with understanding our urge. Now, the urge is caused, when it comes to the overeating urge, it is broken down and it's caused by this part of your brain, this really, really ancient computer chip that's part of the limbic system, the hypothalamus, okay? And I call this brain the food zombie brain. And the reason I call that the food zombie brain is because for all the years when I was binge eating, I had this food behavior that I didn't want to have. It's almost like I had a blackout and my body was doing something and my mind was on the other side saying, no, don't do it. So that's kind of the relationship I had, and it kind of felt that way. Many of my clients feel like they're possessed or they black out, or there's a devil on their shoulder. So that's where the name food zombie came from, is the fact that we feel like we are possessed, or like a zombie just eating without remorse. Okay. And the urge is governed by this food zombie brain. All right. And there's three things that cause urges when it comes to the overeating brain. The first one is hunger. The second one is emotions. And the third is habit, like I talked about before, the neural pathways we follow. So what happens is, when we try and change our bodies for a specific reason, or when we feel like there's a lack of control with food, sometimes we try and control food by dieting, restriction, by negotiating with ourselves, by manipulating macros or calories or whatever the case is. And this creates a scarcity in the mind, or in this part of the brain. And it's not just because this brain can't see anything, right? So this brain cannot see that there's like an abundance of food out there. This brain can only see that, or only feel what's going on in the body, and only interpret the signals that's going on in the body. And when we when it creates extreme hunger in our bodies, whether you forget to eat or whether you are actually restricting through dieting or fasting or any of those kind of things, you create a hormonal imbalance in the body from the stomach. The stomach creates an excess of ghrelin, and this ghrelin builds up and builds up and builds up. This part of the brain says, well, there is a shortage, there's famine, I'm going to need food, I'm going to need high energy foods, and that is why we end up overeating. Okay, so that's the first one. The second step here is emotions. Now, I am not a fan of making emotional eating the villain. I am actually quite a fan of supporting emotional eating and understanding why it's there in the first place. Seeing emotional eating as a helper instead of someone trying to work against me, if that makes sense. And the reason for this is we are all emotional eaters. We've been groomed that way since day one. It's in our culture. We celebrate with food. We mourn with food. Everything is done with food. So don't ever think or feel that if you emotionally eat sometimes that there's something wrong with that. The problem is if we feel guilt and shame and we start manipulating our food, unfortunately, that starts building neural pathways in the brain that triggers scarcity. Okay. And that is when the habits of overeating will start coming through. The overeating will start coming through if we have a hormonal imbalance in the body. Your body will not feel fullness. It just can't. It's just built that way. Your body can either feel the hunger hormone ghrelin, or it can feel another hormone that tells the body, hey, I'm full. And that one is called leptin. But they on two opposite sides of like a seesaw. You cannot have both of them in your system. So we need to make sure that we have our bodies in a space of nourishment, and we feed it properly and we feed it often so that we don't have this. We also have to nurture our emotions, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. What I wanted to show from this picture is, in order for us to rewire our brains, we need to dig deeper. And if you are willing to do the work to dig deeper, I promise you it will be rewarding and you will have a happier life, because it is possible. As I mentioned before, all pathways in our brains, especially when it comes to habits and food habits, can be rewired if you are ready to do that. And I'm going to just show you a little bit more about how that works. Okay, so Here's how the overeating brain works, right? We have firstly a kind of everything that happens in our life comes from thought, right? So we have an event in life, even when you wake up in the morning, there's a thought that pops into your head first thing. We have millions of thoughts going through our minds all the time. So about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that we think every single day. And 80% of those thoughts are negative, right? And 80%, and when we struggle with habit-centered food thoughts, a lot of those thoughts are probably don't eat the food, I'm going to be good today, not going to sabotage myself, or whatever the case is. Okay, so 80% of the time when we have a food-centered wiring, we are thinking negatively about food or about ourselves, about the way we eat. Okay, and very interesting enough, 90% of the thoughts we thought yesterday, we are repeating today. So if you are thinking about that donut yesterday and you're thinking about it hard and you're resisting not having the donut, guess what you're going to think about this morning? And this is what happened to me. In the mornings, I'd wake up and the first thing I think about is a donut. I'll be like, what's going on? So we need to start watching our thoughts about food, and we need to start watching how that actually affects how we eat. And once we can catch our thoughts around food and our judgment around food, that is when we can create less scarcity and start loosening some of that wiring in the brain. Okay. So next, what happens? So this is how the wiring works. You always have a thought, and then there will be an emotion. So even if you just see the cake and you're like, oh gosh, that looks so amazing, but no, I shouldn't have it. I have been so bad this week. Oh my gosh, I should just not have that, or whatever language you use. I'm such a fat pig, da 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 da. All those kind of things creates feelings in the body, which is uncomfortable. And we then act, our behavior is from the emotional aspect of life. So this is when we actually binge eat, because we have now all these emotions about feeling so bad, something goes wrong, and your mind just goes, oh, well, you've messed this up, well, you're not good enough, whatever the case is, you might as well just eat this because, fuck it. Excuse my swearing, but that's what our brain would say, right? Or it's, well, you've had such a bad day, you deserve this, let's just eat this, and then tomorrow we will start again. Can everyone relate with that line? We'll start again tomorrow, you deserve this. Yeah. Amazing. So then what happens is now we start this process again. We think about, oh gosh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that again? Oh, why? Creates scarcity in the brain. We now have emotions, but like, I'm such a bad person. Why did I do this? All these kind of things. Now we move into a restriction. So we restrict our food, or we go on that diet. We create the hunger. Now the thoughts will be, now we'll start getting cravings for food, because now the body's going, well, I'm low on energy, I'm not getting any food, my hormones are out of balance here, and you'll start thinking about food more, right? I just want to check here. Okay, beautiful. Just hello to Chantel. So good to have you here, my love. Amazing. Okay, so now we're in a restriction or a diet phase. All of a sudden, the thoughts will be here about how I'm dieting, how I'm eating less calories. We're creating the sense of lack in the body. The emotions that come up is frustration, or sense of deprivation, anticipation. A lot of my clients feel euphoria before they binge eat, because the fact that they have tried to withhold themselves so long and withhold the food for so long. And so this cycle will just continue and continue and continue and form more pathways. Okay, so it's no wonder, I'm just going to go back to my previous slide. Oh, let me Let's see if I can go back here to slide. It's no wonder that our brain starts looking like this here on the left, where, you know, it's just a whole muddle of math and all sorts of things. And life is dull for us because everything just feels like we're thinking about food all the time. We're thinking about how to make up for food. We're thinking about what next diet to go on, or we're thinking about how bad we are. We're thinking about how bad our body is. Can you see how much energy that takes? Okay, so, all right. So when we rewire our brains, um, the good feelings come when I have managed to control binges, but that takes effort. Yeah, because that's a new pathway you're forming, and it takes effort. Our brains love to do the quick and easy, and the quick and easy is not is not binging. The quick and easy is the old pathway, which is binge eating. That's easy. We've done it so many times. We've repeated that cycle so many times in our mind that it's really hard to do anything else. It takes a lot of energy. Okay. All right. So let's just go here. So I'd like for you to just think for a moment how much food or how much time you spend and how much energy you spend on food or your shape, your weight and eating. Just to give that a quick kind of estimate in your mind. Right. Hello, if you're on Facebook, please pop on, say hello. So I'm just going to do a little example here. When we have like a food wired brain, this is kind of the spread of thoughts around and the thoughts around our whole existence. 50% of most people who struggle with overeating has an imbalance in the way, you know, their thinking is and their thoughts are. And as you can see, like, we then have very little time for anything else. We have very little time for family. We have very little time for work, because we are so preoccupied with things that come in the brain around food and around all these things. So I know I've talked a lot about how or why and like what we, you know, just explaining what we need to do, but how do we actually do that? How do we rewire the brain? And my first one, and if you've been with me for a while, or you've listened to some of my podcasts or been on Inside Timer with me or Facebook, wherever, I talk about this a lot. And the first one is to reject the diet culture, because dieting is the #1 reason for disordered eating behaviors, such as overeating, such as binge eating, such as emotional eating, all those things. Okay, we want to make sure that we actually break the diet culture rules. All right. The most typical goal a person that goes on a diet is to lose weight. However, the problem is dieting perpetuates these unhealthy patterns about thinking about food. It creates the deprivation mindset. It creates the, it creates the fact that we don't trust ourselves and our bodies. You know, diet culture is so good at telling us you have to weigh yourself every day. You have to track all your calories. You need to do all these things. Yeah. Okay. So I have a question here about intermittent fasting. Yes, intermittent fasting is still a diet, a form of diet, because there is still that sense of creating deprivation in your mind about eating. Okay, so also what happens is diets don't work, they're not effective. 95% of people who go on diets, any diets, ask them how effective they was. They'd be like, yeah, I've lost some weight, but then it stopped working, or I lost my willpower, or whatever the case is. So we end up being in this endless cycle of yo-yo dieting, where we get maybe stricter with regards to our eating. We, do things that are more extreme, and we're getting less and less results because dieting forces your body into starvation mode, and that slows down all your functions. And what that means is it slows down your metabolism. Okay, so we also, some specific diets actually cut out certain food groups, so we miss out on certain nutrients. So I always say, unless you're allergic, don't cut anything out. And the more we have space for foods, and and we have more of a relaxed feeling around food, that is when we will feel less of that urge calling us, right? It sounds really, really, really confusing, but my client Ross, she was desperate for the perfect diet, and she came to see me because she just tried all the diets out there, and she was just so anxious about food. She had so many rules around food. She lived in this black and white mentality, which said that she didn't eat carbohydrates because they were bad. She avoided fats. She felt that sugar was like the devil, and so she tried to really follow all these rules, and she obsessed about everything she ate, but she still binged, and she still lost control of food. She overate almost every night. And now, what I didn't mention before is when we create this deprivation, it's almost like, again, the mind, this part of your survival brain, can't see that there is a shortage in food. So it's going to start acting like a little bit of a teenager. And I want it, and I want it now. And the reason for that is because of the deprivation we've created. Okay. All right. So we need to make sure that we keep our bodies biologically fed. And that means, first of all, that you get enough nutrients. You don't put yourself into extreme calorie deficits for long periods of time. And you also get a whole variety of foods that will give you the energy. And it creates that sense of inclusivity in the mind. Oh my gosh. It releases the deprivation mindset. Let's just go with that. Okay. So in order for you to rewire your overeating brain, the first thing you need to do is reject diet culture. Throw out your diet books and get angry with the society that keeps telling us that we need to, follow their rules, and if we don't, we are a failure. And that there's something wrong with us when we gain the weight back. Meanwhile, that plan was not meant to support us anyway. Okay. So next we need to do is we need to heal our emotional wounds. We need to work with the root causes of what happened that led us to eat in the first place. Okay. And this will help us to free our minds of food and body thoughts, especially when you're lonely, especially when you've had a really long day, especially when you're stressed. We need to make sure that we cope with your emotions, past and present. We also need to make sure that we manage our anxiety around food. If you are scared of food and scared that you are not going to stay on your food plan or you're going to lose it and overeat, unfortunately, that creates anxiety around food, which means we are going to be back into the deprivation mindset, that wiring. All right. And we need to learn how to nourish our bodies and minds without food. And that's difficult. As I mentioned, we have been conditioned to do everything with food, right? So start finding ways to support yourself emotionally. And in the Rewire Your Overeating Brain, we build on a toolbox for you to start noticing your emotional eating so that you can actually manage your emotions. And you also get to work on letting go of those food anxieties so that you can actually nourish your body without food. Okay. Now, the last step is to build habits that last. Now, one of my clients, Vilma, she had a relatively balanced relationship with food, but she felt like she was just getting on and off the diet wagon. And she felt like every time she had a cheat meal, she would be back into old bad habits. And through unraveling that, she was able to build better habits and understand her self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a wiring in itself, and that is sometimes to do with the fact that we have not prioritized ourselves and we have not prioritized our boundaries very, very often. Okay, so when we start looking at this, we can actually stop self-sabotage, because self-sabotage arises from perfectionism, poor boundaries, and once we actually build a healthy relationship with food and we manage our emotions and we are able to feel more in line with food and more of a loving relationship instead of a love-hate relationship, that's when we can actually start to trust ourselves around food. And in order for us to do that, you need to be able to trust and believe that you can actually change and that you want to. And that's what I talked about earlier. I mentioned if you want to and if you are ready, then you can change. And it is accessible to everyone because we all have the power to rewire our brains. All right. And this way when we are in a space of understanding when we self-sabotage, and self-sabotage is different for each person. So it's understanding how that works for you as a person instead of just trying to find out what that is on a blog post or anything else like that. This is when we can actually rewire our brains around food. I wanted to take this moment. I'm going to just put on some music. Right. I wanted to just take a moment here to guide you on a little visual journey for a minute or so. So let me just minimize the need to, so you just have less on the screen. And sit comfortably, release any tension or tightness in body. Put down your pen and paper. You just inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. And as you inhale again, we'll inhale fresh possibilities. And exhale tension. Just follow the ebb and flow of your breath. And I'd like for you to just put your hand on your heart And imagine in 8 weeks from now, you have been able to actually rewire your brain. You can't believe it. You never thought this day would come. You never thought it was possible. But you finally have control. You were able to walk through the chocolate aisle without even the slightest urge. And it feels amazing. Now you get to choose to eat chocolate and we're not. It's not a debate. It just feels so free. There's no internal battle. You just get one little block of chocolate. You just pass by the chocolate aisle like it was stationary or something uneventful. I'd like for you to just feel into your body, feel what that would be like to have that sense of control. Be in a space, in a mind space where you are not obsessed. You don't get anxious. You make deliberate choices around food. And sometimes you say yes, and sometimes you say no. And that's 100% okay because you chose to. And when you do eat, you mindfully indulge without feeling any triggers. So just step into this future version of you. And what does this version of you say to her friends or family? And what does she do on vacation now that she's not hung up about controlling her food thoughts? What does she actually think now that she doesn't think about food all the time? What choices does she make? How does she feel in her body? What does food freedom really feel like? And if you had to truly listen, what would this future version of you say to you right now in this moment? Slowly just bring your awareness back. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Just take that message that you got from that future version of you, take it with you. Just know that it is possible. And we'll slowly come back. Okay. So I just wanted to quickly check in and see what that future version of you said to you. Let me know in the comments. How did it feel to just step into that possibility? Okay. So, as I mentioned before, this is all possible for you, and I'm super excited to share with you just how we can do that together. So, a quick recap is your overeating is caused by an urge. And in order for us to break the urge, you need to rewire your personality around food. And that personality is your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. And once you are able to do that, you will start to feel a sense of freedom. Just imagine what will happen. The future talking to present was a little silent. Yes, Milsey, I get it. Like, I absolutely get that. It's sometimes really hard for us to imagine what that would be like. Okay. So, and the reason for that is because we haven't been there. But I'd like to challenge you to just really, really feel into it. And even tonight, after we've finished this, go back and ask that again. What would it be like? And just know that that is there for you. You can absolutely have that. So I've kind of taken you through some real amazing things on how to start rewiring this process. When you start rejecting the diet culture, it's such a beautiful and massive way to do that. When we start looking after our emotions and we heal old wounds, or we heal the current stresses in our lives, that's going to go a real long way for us to start rewiring the emotional triggers that happen. Right. But you've probably been going at this for so long, and maybe it's time for you to try something different. Maybe it's time for you to step into a space where you have a whole beautiful tribe of women who will help you along the way, who will hold your hand. They're there with you. They understand what you're going through. And they'll keep you accountable. So if that is something you want to work with, hi Shirley, then I'd like for you to just hear about the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Mastermind. So this mastermind is a beautiful collection of women where I take you on a journey to step by step rewire your habits with food, rewire your thinking around food. I support you along the way, and you also start to understand and build emotional coping skills. We work on your relationship with your body. And we do this in a particular order so that your brain can slowly rewire itself in the process. So my client Cindy, I just loved how she talked about this as each session being like peeling another layer of the onion, where we discover something different about our brains, and Cindy really understood or started realizing how her brain associated emotions and chocolates as the same thing, right? Like there was no separation between the two. And her biggest aha through our time together was that she actually was able to break that connection. And now she can feel emotions and not have chocolates. And she can also have chocolates and not be emotional. They're two separate things for her. And that is really, really cool. So the mastermind is an 8-week journey where we get together. You have 8 group sessions with hosted by me, but you'll obviously be in a supported community of like-minded women who feels exactly what you're feeling right now. They have experienced the same thing, and they're also just ready to rewire and do things differently. You'll get the support coaching every single week. We'll dive into specific topics, situations, and challenges and you'll build on your toolbox to help rewire your brain. We also have a private community where we'll connect in between sessions. Here you can ask questions, you can, support one another. I'll be in there daily. And this is just a really great space for everyone to just share and open up. There's just so much value in actually just saying how something has made me feel, and or sharing an aha and how that can inspire someone else along the way. You also have daily access to me, which is something that you will never get in an online program. You will never get this in seeing psychologists or dietitians. You can't just message them in between your sessions. Okay. And this is what I love about my programs is usually I only give this to my one-on-one clients, but I've decided that you get this as well. So you can ask questions in the support group, or if you would like to ask me something because you don't want anyone else to know about it, a lot of our food issues is personal, you have that support from me in a private setting too. And my clients just love it. I actually just interviewed one of my clients who's just finished the Rewire Overeating Brain program. And she's like, it's just so amazing that I can message you in the middle of the night if I need you. And that's how I want all my clients to feel. All right. So I also created something really, really awesome for you, because I know that, in 8 weeks, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot for us to take in. But then we need to go practice that. So, and I didn't want to just leave you with, well, that's it. Let's walk off. So you actually get lifetime access to all the modules and content, so that whenever you need a refresher or to renew, you can go back and look at what was there for you. All the handouts. And as I refine this process and add new maybe new tools or new lessons, you will have access to that as well, right? And that's valued at $997. I usually sell this as a standalone online learning platform. However, I honestly think that we get more direction and we get more speed and momentum in our healing when we work in a group and when we actually work together as a team. So lastly, I also added a few bonuses into this, because who doesn't love a bonus? I love this. And I've added 2 one-on-one sessions with me. And the reason for this is because we're all different. And yes, the steps we take will be similar for each, but you might have stuff in your life that's different to the rest of the group, and you need that individualized support. And that is what you will get through this program as well. You'll also get, okay, so I just wanted to see where my slide is. Okay, beautiful. We also have a few other bonuses. So you get 2 months access to my Beyond Overeating video library, as well as yoga library. So this will help you just if you need movement or if you need some additional inspiration, you will have access to that. And the value to this is over $200 for the 2 months. You also get the mindful eating meditation bundle, which has helped so many people just feel so calm when it comes to eating. It supported them build their healthy habits with regards to food. So this includes a bundle of meditations, journal prompts, and a workshop on how to heal your relationship with food. And that's valued at $150. So you get all of that. And, I just loved how Jamie, she actually said that through this process, every week she would just get new skills to improve her relationship with food. And I love that she felt she had someone by her side that listened without judgment and gave her feedback. Gave her feedback, and that's just great, you know. Another amazing thing is one of my clients, she actually unlocked a childhood trauma linked to donuts through this. Don't underestimate what can happen in these containers, because Sharon felt like she just could never cut and break away from donuts. And as we went through this process, we realized that there was actually a trauma of feeling safe around donuts, and that is why she held on to donuts as her crutch for so long. All right. Another client of mine who would like to remain anonymous, she is a high-profile lawyer. She actually was able to break a nut butter obsession. She was obsessed with nut butters. She would open the jar and she wouldn't stop eating, whether it was Nutella, whether it was peanut butter, like it just wouldn't stop. And what we discovered was that her anxieties actually drove her into comfort eating something salty, and the nuts are quite earthy, and that's what kind of helped her when she felt high anxieties. And so she felt extremely empowered when we actually were able to break that, and she was able to build new tools to use instead of food. So this is all what's available to you, as I mentioned, if you are ready to rewire your brain. So I would love for you to hop on. What I'll do is I'll pop the link in the different chats. So let me just quickly pop that in here. Where's my chat? Over here. And let's just go into Facebook, pop the link. Oh, where is my Facebook? There we go. All right. Amazing. All right. So the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Mastermind will help you end your fight with food and get your brain into a space where you just have all the time and space to do other things, for family, friends, for new hobbies, for all those kind of things. Life is too short to be so preoccupied with food. You get the 8 weeks of workshops and the support group. You get lifetime access to everything. You get a private community. You get daily access to me. You get one-on-one private sessions, and you also get 2 months access to the Beyond Overeating Recovery and Yoga membership. And this is all for a really, really discounted price, $1,497. I do have some installment options available if you would like. There's 2 installments and 3 installment options. But as I mentioned before, if you were listening and you would like to actually take advantage of this, the first person to sign up for this will get a VIP upgrade. So instead of 2 private one-on-one coaching sessions, you will actually get 8 one-on-one coaching sessions, as well as the 8 weeks of workshops with me. So such a great deal. I would love to now open for questions about the program or about rewiring your brain. So I might just, I've popped everything into the share there. I just wanted to see, yeah, that was the last slide. So let's go with any questions from Facebook if you need, or on Zoom. Let's have a look. Oh, let me pop this into a direct message, everyone. Amazing. Right, any questions? I might actually stop the screen share. Amazing. So I just wanted to thank everyone for joining me today. This has been really fun to host the Rewire Your Overeating Brain Masterclass again. And if you would like to take part in the program, we do start onboarding. Will start next week, and we'll probably start with our first group sessions the week of the 25th of July. So I would love for you to hop and sign on. I only have 5 spots available, so make sure that you hop on and do that very soon. Okay, so I might actually end the live here on Facebook, and I am going to stop the recording, and then